Welcome to the optional practical training tutorial presented by UNM's Global Education Office. In this session, we will give an overview of optional practical training, also known as OPT. We will discuss eligibility, who can apply for OPT, and the type of employment you may engage in while on OPT. Finally, we will discuss what an employment authorization document, known as an EAD card, is. What is OPT? OPT stands for Optional Practical Training. There are two kinds, pre-completion OPT and post-completion OPT. It is 12 months of temporary work authorization that is granted by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS, for off-campus work that is directly related to your field of study. OPT can be used during or immediately following a course of study. If it is completed during the course of study, it is referred to as pre-completion OPT. If it is completed after the course of study, it is called post-completion. The OPT may also be used as a combination of both pre-completion OPT and post-completion OPT that does not exceed 12 months in total of full-time employment. UNM offers curricular practical training, known as CPT, usually in place of pre-completion OPT. This is more beneficial for students because CPT offers the same pre-completion work benefit, but saves students OPT benefit for after completion of their coursework. Therefore, this tutorial will be limited to applying for post-completion OPT. Who is eligible for OPT? OPT is a benefit for international students. You must be in valid F1 student status. You must have completed your coursework for your degree. However, you do not have to have completed comprehensive components such as thesis, project, or dissertation. You must be physically present in the U.S. in order to apply. You cannot have completed more than 360 days of full-time curricular practical training, or CPT. Part-time CPT has no effect on OPT. Finally, a job offer is not needed to apply for OPT. What type of employment? OPT employment must be directly related to your field of study, and it must be full-time, which is 20 hours or more per week. An employment authorization document, known as an EAD card, is a document issued by USCIS to authorize an alien to work in the U.S. for a period of time. For OPT, it is 1 year. It is also called a work permit. It takes the form of a card with the alien's name, photo, and work eligibility start and expiration dates. Welcome to the application guide for post-completion OPT. In this session, OPT refers to post-completion optional practical training. This part of the presentation will assist you in applying for post-completion OPT. In this presentation, we will discuss the OPT application process. We will cover how to apply, when to apply, selecting employment dates, OPT checklists, detailed instructions for completing forms, how to obtain your OPT recommendation I-20, and where to mail your application. Applying for OPT is a three-step process. First, you must prepare your application documents and schedule an appointment with a GEO advisor. You must collect all application materials listed on the OPT checklists on the OPT page found on GEO's website, including your academic advisor's recommendation, before your appointment. you can call 505-277-4032 to make the appointment. The appointment will take approximately 2 hours. Second, after your OPT appointment, you will receive a new I-20 with a recommendation for OPT from GEO. GEO will notify you when it is ready for pickup. Third, after you receive your new OPT I-20, the next step is to mail all application materials with a copy of the OPT recommendation I-20 to USCIS. It is very important that USCIS receives the OPT application within 30 days of the issue date of the I-20. If it is received after 30 days of the issue date, your application will be denied. It can take USCIS up to 90 days to approve your OPT. Once approved, you will receive an Employment Authorization Document, or EAD card, in the mail. You cannot start working until you receive the EAD card. When should you apply for post-completion OPT? You can apply no earlier than 90 days before your graduation date, or the date you complete your coursework. You can apply no later than 60 days after your program completion date. Once again, USCIS must receive your application no more than 60 days after your program completion date and within 30 days of the issue date of the OPT recommendation I-20. Do you want me to repeat it?
Repeat the last sentence.
Once again, USCIS must receive your application no more than 60 days after your program completion date and within 30 days of the issue date of the OPT recommendation I-20. It is strongly recommended to apply for post-completion OPT as early as possible. Again, USCIS can take up to 90 days to approve OPT, and it is not possible to expedite OPT processing time. You may request an OPT start date that is any day between the day after your program completion date and 60 days after that date. For example, if your program end date is May 18th, the earliest possible date you may request to start employment is May 19th, and the latest possible date is July 17th. Please refer to the OPT application timeline for the most accurate dates. When selecting a start date, you should consider the time that your application is submitted. Remember, it takes USCIS up to 90 days to approve OPT and send your EAD card. You cannot start working until you receive your EAD card. 90 days of unemployment rule. It is important to note that you may not accrue more than 90 days of unemployment during the 12 months you are on OPT. If you do not report a job within 90 days of the start date of your OPT employment authorization, your OPT and F1 status will end, and you must leave the U.S. immediately. You cannot change your OPT employment dates once you have submitted your application to USCIS. Application Checklist A. Some documents are for GEO only to issue the new I-20 with OPT recommendation, and other documents are for your OPT application to USCIS to issue your EAD card. You must bring all of these documents to your OPT appointment with an international advisor at GEO. First, we will list documents for GEO in order to receive your new I-20 with OPT recommendation. The first form is a completed Student Participation Start Date form. A GEO advisor can help you select your start date if you're not sure when you want your OPT to begin. The second form required by GEO is your Academic Advisor's Recommendation form. You will not be allowed to attend your OPT appointment if your academic advisor has not completed and signed this form. The third document GEO requires is a completed OPT student responsibilities contract. This contract notifies you of your duties and responsibilities while on OPT. Please read this carefully before signing it.
And this part.
Okay. You can find this checklist on GEO's website. Here are samples of the 3 forms that are required by GEO. All 3 forms that GEO requires in order to issue your new I-20 with OPT recommendation can be found on GEO's website. Here are samples of the 3 forms. The first is a student participation start date form. In this form, you will enter the date that you would like your OPT to begin and end. The second form is your academic advisor's recommendation form. Your academic advisor must complete this form before your appointment. The third form is the OPT student responsibilities contract. Please read this form and sign it before your OPT advisement appointment. Application checklist B. You can find this checklist on the OPT page on GEO's website. To apply for OPT, you will need the following items in your application that you will mail to USCIS. The first item is a bank check, personal check, or money order for $410 made payable to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. USCIS will reject applications with an incorrect application fee. The second item are 2 color U.S. passport size photos. Print your name and your I-94 number lightly on the back of each. Do not use old photos. Place the photos in a white envelope and write your name and passport photos on the front of the envelope. The third item is a cover letter listing your name, the request for OPT you are making, and a list of the documents included in the application. A sample cover letter can be found on the OPT page on GEO's website. Feel free to cut and paste. The fourth item is a completed G1145 form. Do not forget to use a non-UNM email address, as you will be losing your UNM address. The fifth item is a completed and signed application form I-765. The sixth item is a copy of your new I-20 with UNM OPT recommendation. You will receive this I-20 after your OPT appointment with a GEO advisor. Please remember to sign the original I-20 before making a copy for your application. The seventh item is a printout of your most recent electronic I-94 record. You can print the I-94 at any computer with internet access. The eighth item is a copy of your F1 visa stamp. This can be found usually in your passport. This does not apply to citizens from Canada. The ninth item is a copy of your passport biographical page. So generally the page in your passport with your picture and identification information on it. The 10th and final item is a photocopy of any previously issued EAD cards or change of status approvals. If you have never received an EAD card before or a change of immigration status, this does not apply to you. Please note that a letter will be required if you cannot locate any documentation on this checklist, such as previous ID cards or change of status approvals explaining why you are unable to include the missing document. We will now go into further detail about the required forms. The first form is the G1145. The government form G1145 is the electronic notification of application or petition acceptance. This form allows you to receive email and text message notification with receipt number for your case. Please download and complete this PDF, then print it. Be sure to use a non-UNM email address, as you will lose your UNM address sometime after you graduate. The next form is the Form I-765, Application for Employment Authorization. Please download and complete the PDF and then print and sign. If you do not already have a Social Security number, you can apply for one as well as a replacement card on this form. For items that do not apply to you, leave blank. For the eligibility category, enter lowercase c, number 3, capital B. The I-94 record is a record of your last entry into the United States. This can be printed at any computer with internet access. You will need to enter the I-94 record number on the Form I-765. This number must also be written on the back of each of your passport photos. Passport photos. You must include 2 official passport size color photos. Do not take them yourself and do not use old photos. Please write your name and I-94 number gently on the backs of both passport photos. Make sure that they are the correct official passport size. Do not staple them to your application. Put them in an envelope and write passport photos and your name on the front of the envelope. Mailing your application. Compile the application packet in the same order as it appears on your cover letter and mail it to USCIS. After you have compiled the entire application, make a copy for your files. Organize the materials as neatly as possible and put them in a large mailing envelope. Send all of the items to one of the addresses below within 10 days of receiving the advisor's recommendation. If you are mailing it through the U.S. Postal Service, use the Dallas address. If using the U.S. Postal Service, we recommend sending it certified mail. If you are using a private courier, such as FedEx or UPS, send it to the Louisville address. Students who are not living in New Mexico may have a different USCIS mailing address, so check with an advisor before mailing the application if you do not reside in New Mexico. RFE, Request for Further Evidence. If your application is not complete, or USCIS wants further documentation to support your application, they may send you a request for further evidence known as an RFE. If you receive such a request, please follow the directions on the RFE and send the requested documents to USCIS as soon as possible. Please be aware that an RFE will cause a delay in the processing of your application and may postpone your OPT start date. Wait for your EAD card. Within 4 to 6 weeks of sending the application to USCIS, you should get a standard notice of action stating that USCIS has received your application. If you do not get this letter within 6 weeks of mailing your application, contact a GEO advisor for more information. The International Advisor at GEO can assess your situation and advise you thereafter. The case number in the top left corner of this receipt notice can be used to check your status at the USCIS website. Your permission to begin OPT is not finalized until you have received an EAD card from USCIS. Do not start working until you receive the EAD card. Provide GEO a copy of your EAD card and report your employment. Once you have received your EAD card, you must provide our office with a copy of the front and back of the card by scanning it and sending it to iadvisor@unm.edu or by bringing a copy in to GEO. As soon as you receive the card and your employment start date has been reached, you are authorized to start working. You must report your employer's name and address and your start date to the USCIS portal while on OPT in order to maintain legal student status. To report this information, SEVP will send you an email message with directions to set up your portal profile. If SEVIS does not have your employer on record by your start date, your 90 days of unemployment will start accruing on this date automatically. Once employment is reported, the number of accrued unemployment days will be recalculated. STEM extensions of OPT. If your major is in a STEM field, science, technology, engineering, or math, you may be eligible to apply for a 2-year STEM extension of your OPT. This would enable you to work for a total of 3 years. If you are eligible for a STEM extension, you should apply 90 days before your initial OPT period is going to expire. Again, you will need to make an appointment with an advisor at GEO and receive a new I-20 with STEM extension recommendation. If you are not in New Mexico, we can do the STEM extension appointment by telephone. STEM OPT extension eligibility requirements, instructions, and application forms can also be found on GEO's website. Thank you for watching this video. GEO congratulates you on your program completion, and we look forward to helping you apply your knowledge and skills to employment in the U.S.